And let me say one more thing.
Okay.
Trophy comes out, they immediately say we're going to do an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your police department investigate a complaint about your police department. If you were going to have an investigation, you'd either call on the county or the state to do the investigation of your police department. In the situation where the county police had accusation of sexual harassment, they called the woman into police to do the investigation. So your whole investigative process is flawed on its surface from the beginning, and Mr. Mayor and Mr. Police Chief, that's your fault.
Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
J Street.
And welcome to The Source. This has been interesting. Normally when we come on, we do a lot of talking about the murdering that's going on in the city and things of that nature. But today's show is going to be interesting. We're going to spend time discussing several things. The city council president decided to hold a vote. And in this vote of no confidence, and then all of a sudden the mayor decided he wanted to join in. It's time for me to make a statement. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate this. He told me he was going to send me some information so that, I can see the trajectory of what the police are going to be doing. I've not received it yet, but I'm giving him the time to do it. But what's going on with this feud that's happening?
Okay, but it's the president, along with 5 other members of city council, passed a no confidence vote in the chief of police.
Right.
And that had to do with the number of shootings, the level of violence, the murder rate, 39 murders last year. In their view that he's non-responsive, basically been invisible, and I commend them for making that effort.
But you don't have a right to commend them for making that effort. The mayor said in his statement that it messed up the chief of police reputation.
Well, his reputation is what it is. Here's the harsh fact of the matter. When he became chief in 2017, that year, he broke a record. Broke a record in terms of the number of shootings and number of murders. It went down the following year, and then this year, he broke his own record. So he's got 2 years of the highest number of shootings and murders in the city. The record speaks for itself.
Not just 2 years. All right. In 2017, he broke the record. 2018, it went down. That's good. They bragged about it. It was because of their efforts. They led the effort.
Trump
commended him.
He went to D.C.
Right. And then the following year, 2019, 2020, and 2021, each year broke the previous year's record. And now 2021 was the highest gun violence that we've ever seen in the city of Wilmington.
But the fact of the matter is, we were labeled by Newsweek magazine Murder Town, USA in 2014 or 2015 when Dennis was the mayor, and there were 9 murders. So now you go from 9 to 39. What is it now? And when Jim Sills was the mayor, the FOP hung a sign across Pennsylvania Avenue as you come into the city that said, "Welcome to Jim Sills' shooting gallery." Whose shooting gallery is it now?
Well, you got to always remember, I'm going to let you say something, but you always got to remember now, you're dealing with 2 black mayors now. You cannot compare. If it's a black mayor, you have a right to say those things. But if it's a white mayor, you may mess up reputations.
Well, and that's my point. and one person and one council member in particular, during the Jim Sills administration, just put him through you know what, and now all of a sudden, she is on the side of the police chief whose record is just dismal as compared to the record of former Mayor Sills and Police Chief Sam Pratchett. But she was raising all kinds of saying about the number of shootings when Jim Sills was the mayor. But now this police chief, who has a failing record, continues to be supported. So racism is alive and well in the city of Wilmington, and I'm not going to play hide and go seek with that aspect of it. And here, the fact of the matter is, I had not planned to come on the show today, and I had to get up, go get a haircut, put my teeth in, put on my monkey suit, just to be here with you guys this morning to tongue lash the mayor, because he's out of control. Now, here's the fact of the matter. Desperate people do desperate things. And the mayor is a developer by trade, and I don't have a problem with development. There's even some development going on outside of the riverfront, and somebody's got to support the developer, because if you don't develop in the city, then you're going to end up having to raise taxes and all those kind of things. All that helps the tax base, helps the economy, helps revenue. I think Public Works is doing a good job. Our trash is being picked up on time. When it snows, we've got streets that never got plowed, never got attention, getting attention now. That's great. But we got a higher murder rate per capita than the city of Philadelphia. And it's not other people's children, it's black children that are being shot and killed. It's people in the greater community don't have to worry about their kids going outside and not coming back home. They don't have to keep their kids away from the parks, away from the playgrounds, because they're afraid that somebody is going to get hurt, shot, or killed, or worse. And the whole view is we're just supposed to accept this. It has to be acceptable because it's going on in our neighborhood. They're not having conversations with their grandchildren about what to do when a police officer stops you. My kids are grown, okay? But I have to make sure when they're coming to and from my house, I'm checking their cars, make sure the brake lights and all those things are working, because I don't want them to get stopped unnecessarily and inappropriately. We have to keep close eye on our vehicles and of our family members, and make sure that they don't get stopped unnecessarily. Other people don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And then their children are not the ones traumatized by the gunfire, the murders, going to funerals. And, you know, how many funerals did you go to when you were in high school? Wow. How many classmates did you bury? Yeah. But these children are going through this and living with this, and then we wonder what's wrong with them. And all this in the middle of a pandemic, when our children who weren't being properly educated, weren't being appropriately educated before the pandemic, you know full well they're suffering academically and now socially and emotionally because of the trauma, and the mayor has nothing else to do but write an editorial. The fact of the matter is, his administration's on the ropes, and desperate people do desperate things. So you get your best writer to craft you an editorial to go to the editorial board, and you just arbitrarily seize on what the president of city council has done, and meritoriously so. The fact is, the trophy that says, that was handed from a white officer to a black officer, that says the whitest black guy in the office, Trippie Congo didn't present that trophy. That trophy didn't sit on Trippy Congo's desk for 3 years, and nobody in the police department see it and have a problem with it. Nobody reported it, but that's what happened. So the mayor sends this long editorial that says, this is to be concerned about, that's to be concerned about, but what Trippy Congo says is patently false. Well, let me make this analogy. In the 90s, I wrote a 7.5-page letter to the superintendent of Christina School District saying all the things that were wrong in the Christina School District. And the best response I got from any superintendent, any letter I've written, was from Dr. Iris T. Metz when I sent that letter. And the letter said, "Dear Mr. Street, I'm in receipt of your letter dated such and such and such in regard to the Christina School District. In response to your letter, show proof. Sincerely, Dr. Iris T. Metz." In the instant matter, if it's patently false, show proof.
Right.
Where's your proof, numerically, statistically, and with interviews with staff and otherwise? Show proof. You have no proof. And to me, all I'm looking at when I see the editorial from the mayor is I'm thinking about former President Bill Clinton. I did not have sex with that woman. You're lying.
Sexual relation.
You're lying. You're lying. So with the mayor, it's patently false. Show proof. You know you're not telling the truth. And let me say one more thing.
Okay.
Trophy comes out. They immediately say we're going to do an investigation. You're going to have your police department investigate a complaint about your police department. If you were going to have an investigation, you'd either call on the county or the state to do the investigation of your police department. In the situation where the county police had an accusation of sexual harassment, they called the woman into police to do the investigation. So your whole investigative process is flawed on its surface from the beginning, and Mr. Mayor and Mr. Police Chief, that's your fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and you said several things.
It's dastardly mischief to tell the public you're going to have your police department investigate itself. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, well, it's several pieces to this puzzle, and I want to throw, and you're right. You talked about a certain city council person who voted and gave Pratcher and others a lot of grief for the violence that were happening in the city while they were in, and they were black chief of police. She's very silent now. She still gets a lot of black votes. I don't understand that piece at all. But she's still around. She still make her, and I'm not afraid to say names, because where I am, we have a right to do what we're supposed to do. But that piece speaks to the level of racism and the level of care for our people. She does not care. They obviously does not. But I'm going to say this like I said it before. Whoever is advising the mayor, because I think he's a good guy, whoever's advising him on the moves to make and the things to address need to be fired.
Well, but the fact of the matter is, who needs to be fired is, and the NAACP, I believe it was in August, called for the resignation of the chief of police. And we called because of the outlandish number of incidents against black people that have transpired on his watch. You've got the sex in the police car. You've got the situation where the young man's head is busted against the wall. And there were other incidents, at least 4 that we named that day, that just outrageous misconduct, and the young man shot in the back, and the police officer, as opposed to being charged with attempted murder, was charged with tampering with evidence. You've got all these things. So we called for his resignation then, and the mayor needs to come to the harsh reality he's a developer. So you don't know anything about police operations coming in as mayor. You made a mistake.
And
Fix
admit
it.
it. And admit it.
Fix it.
And admit it.
And look, the resolution,
Yeah.
the vote of no confidence stated that the city council had no confidence in the chief's policies that have taken place, policies and practices under his leadership. And then they also called on him to take actionable steps to correct them and work with both the administration, with the council, and with a third-party consultant, outside consultant, to kind of fix those practices. That's what it called for, and it looked for a plan within 90 days. And then the following week, we see the picture of the trophy. Right? And again, it doubles down that this is going against the credibility of the chief. No, it's not. This is a lack of diversity in the department. Again, if top leadership, top brass in the department didn't see anything wrong with that trophy that was displayed for 3 years,
That was really sad.
you have one or two problems. One, either y'all looked at it and y'all did not care, or two, when you said to council, oh, I regularly walk through the department and talk to the rank and file, but I mainly talk to my leadership, but I do talk to rank and file. It's no way you can walk through your whole department and not see that. So either you're not walking through your department like you said you were in a public hearing, or you saw it and you just did not care. You didn't see it. And because, look, it's a culture thing, right? This is why we're pushing for diversity in leadership. Because an officer in leadership who's black will see that and say, oh, no, that's not acceptable. We got to get rid of that right away. And maybe, there may not even be any backlash for the officer who gave it to him, but it shouldn't have been sitting out like that.
For 3 years.
For 3 years.
But see, that's the reason why, Kobe, I said that whoever's around the mayor needs to be fired, because he has diversity around him.
Right.
I mean, his chief of staff is an African-American, went to a HBCU. You mean when he found out that was there, she didn't say, oh, that is a no. That should have never happened. Instead, we get the editorial that we get to respond to a Tribby Congo who was really, I thought, understanding what he was calling for, I thought it was very responsible.
Yeah.
I think a 90-day plan to show us that you can handle, put policies in place, do some things. He didn't say it had to be solved in 90 days, but show us your plan. I didn't see anything wrong with that. But then what I do see is a cover-up.
But what the mayor sees is the next mayor.
Ah.
Okay?
Okay.
So now you see the president of city council stepping up. You want to do a third term, and now you're on the ropes as it relates to your police operation.
You think he wants to do a third term?
Of course.
Oh, I didn't think he. I thought after he got sick this year, he was kind of done with this.
No, I
would
can see
think
him
so.
running for a third term.
Really? Oh, well, y'all fooling me, because I thought that he was just going to serve his time, and we would thank him for all the development.
But the fact of the matter is, the problem with the police department has to be fixed.
It has to be. It has to be.
And we're at a point now where the NAACP made a decision in August to call for the police chief's resignation. We sent a message. The Wilmington City Council sent a message last month that said we have no confidence. And the response from the mayor is basically you can all go pound saying, I'm going to have my police department investigate itself. It's going to come back and say there are no problems, and it will be business as usual. Business as usual is not acceptable. And there's no question in my mind that it's going to take an outside third party to provide some relief to change the situation, because we're not going to be able to continue to live with this.
Absolutely not. And you said how many? When I was growing up, I didn't go to any funerals of my friends who had died at police violence. Now, there was some still police violence. I was under Rizzo, so there was some police brutality, but not to the level of death. And it's really, 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 really sad that we're sitting here discussing yet again an editorial that was done by the mayor, because the city council, I guess the mayor is still ticked off with those others who decided to cross the line and vote in favor with Congo that these persons, that the chief of police is not, have no confidence in them.
But the mayor's editorial was flawed on its surface. He had nothing that he could back up what he was accusing President Congo of. On the other hand, President Congo, the other members of City Council, we have, number one, 39 murders. Number two, the high number of shootings. Number three, documented, substantiated incidents. And then after all that's done, here comes the trophy, which makes it crystal clear. Well, we had proof. City Council had proof. In that editorial, where's the mayor's proof?
Well, I don't need proof because I'm the mayor, and it's not my people who are dying.
No, it's bigger than that.
You know, well, you're right.
I am Mayor Przicki. I'm not Mayor Williams. I'm not Mayor Sills. My police chief is Robert Tracy. It's not Sam Pratcher. It's not anybody that Dennis Williams hired, and it's not people of color. So you can go to the editorial board, write what you want, and even the news journal said, the article that came out said, okay, basically it said, okay, you have said this. What's your plan?
And matter of fact, that's how I was going to end this segment, to say that was one of the things I was very proud of the news journal, to come back and respond. Well, you said what you said. You were disgusted. You were upset. You were angry. What's your plan?
Right.
We've been saying that forever, and I just really feel bad. But the diversity in the Wilmington Police Department is an issue that has to be addressed. The murders in our streets have to be addressed. The investigative, the whole department. When the state said they were going to take over under Dennis Williams, this now is the time for them to take over.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, the mayor made a decision not to diversify his public safety department. He made a decision to hire people that were not of color to lead his public safety divisions. Knowing that you're in a city that has a population that it does, it was a slap in the face from the beginning, and it has trickled down. And somebody was offended by that trophy sitting there all that time.
Absolutely.
And somebody sent that picture to not just the president, but to other members of City Council, and they are sick and tired of it. But I'm going to go to the other end. You got one Republican sitting on City Council.
Oh, gee.
You got all Democrats. And we're fighting 7-6, 6-5, and it doesn't make any sense. And so we've got to take a look at the big picture in terms of who needs to be in these seats, and why are we having this kind of ongoing 7-6, 6-5, why are we having these votes? And the mayor, in conjunction with the council that he controls, purposely and intentionally took Trippi Congo's power from him before he was ever sworn into office.
And we went through that
purposely, intentionally, and maliciously, and he has less power than any president in the history of City Council. But then you cry foul.
Well, Loretta Walsh led that campaign. And I don't mean to cut you off, but she led that campaign, and it was us, the black folks who were on council, supported it because of the promises that were made within that little group. And I see you getting me angry.
But I'm getting you angry because, and all I think about is the late Hazel Plant, state representative. I'm sitting in her living room and sitting on her couch, and she talking about these Negroes and these black elected officials selling their soul for cheeseburgers.
Yes, cheeseburgers. I call it fish sandwiches. Because, they're never going to teach you to fish. They're just going to keep giving you fish sandwiches, and we're going to keep acting like we're going to accept them. But listen, I want you to see just so you won't think that we are just talking about this. This is being talked about across the country, really. And I just want you to see this this video that surfaced, and I happened to see that Kobe was one of the people that were interviewed. Well, not in this one, but in this video. Just look at this real fast. It's going to be about a 5-minute video, and I want you to see that this issue of the mayor and the city council president, with the lack of diversity, the murders that are going on within the city, and the vote of no confidence, all of that is still, people talking about it way beyond the city of Wilmington. Look at this.
A black detective who was awarded the whitest black guy trophy by his supervisor at the police precinct. I kid you not. This is in Delaware. Wilmington Police Department is investigating after it learned a black officer was given the whitest black guy trophy. Let's put up the trophy. We got a picture of the trophy. Okay? And then it's a cheap ass trophy at that. The identity of the black officer has not been revealed as of yet. This is an interesting and deep story. The trophy was reportedly given in jest. Oh, it's just a joke. Was awarded to a black male detective by his white supervisor, according to officials. It has been on display of the detective's desk since 2019.
And we're back. I hope you got an opportunity to see that video and see that it is being talked about throughout the country, really. The disgrace that we have here going on in the city with the city council, the mayor feuding, and yet people are dying every day. It's another thing that kind of troubled me, and I really wanted to make sure I brought this to the front, about the one officer down in Sussex prison who has really been accused with proof of his excessive force. Even to one gentleman, he had walking naked to humiliate him. Just take a look at this real fast.
If there's any type of altercation, if it's a verbal altercation, he's going straight to hands on. He's macing you, he's beating you up. They had brand new cameras on the tier that I was on, and those brand new cameras show everything. I never, at the end of the day, even if I was fighting back, if I played devil's advocate and I say, yeah, I fought back, if I got, first and foremost, if you spray me, I have a right to protect myself, especially when I'm not doing anything violent or anything aggressive that'll make you spray me. While they was walking me there, they get checked on by medical and whatnot. My pants was down, but once I reached that area, that's when they pulled them up before I entered into the building. So they made me walk around a whole compound with my pants down in my private house. Embarrassed, disrespected, humiliated. It was dehumanizing. Whenever something happens and he's a part of it, the SEALs protect him, they ride with him, they help him, they assist him, and like I said, they protect him. But as far as the other SEALs go, they're arrogant and they're disrespectful, and if you cross them the wrong way, like they're gonna get their off too.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. What do you think?
Well, you know, the 12 documented allegations. Okay.
Right.
If anybody thinks that is limited to 12, I think they're sadly mistaken. But you know, during the beginning of the pandemic, we were concerned about prisoners getting COVID. We had discussions with the commissioner at the time, but this goes back to the beginning of COVID. But it goes a little bit further back as it relates to the prison riot. And the allegations that we had coming out of the prison in terms of the retaliation, in terms of the beatings, in terms of this young man said that he was made to walk naked through the prison. They had prisoners in Smyrna outside in the cold, naked.
Oh my gosh.
And then forcing them to check themselves in their private parts and then lick their fingers. So this is the kind of stuff that has been going on, and ever since the prison riot, basically the hierarchy and authorities within the prison system have not paid it any mind, and there is no excuse on God's green earth for them to be able to have the cameras, have the footage, and be able to hide it.
Right.
And so we're going to have to look to the legislature. Quite frankly, we're going to have to go to the governor. And the same argument that I'm making now with the county police and that I think should be made with all 49 police departments in the state. When Kobe and them got the governor to agree to try to establish a police body camera program statewide, they didn't do that so that the videos could be hidden.
Right.
And there's no reason for these videos within the prison system that they use to monitor, check, harass the inmates, that should be hidden from the public. There's no reason for that.
Absolutely.
Right. And this has been going on for a long time, but most of these cases come within the last 2 years, right? So really since the pandemic has picked up. Now, Jay, I was right there with you. The fact is we had a former commissioner of the prisons, corrections here in Delaware, stating that there's no COVID in the prisons whatsoever, and was denying people their basic right to communicate with their family, especially at the beginning of this. They shut down all visitation. You had no clue what was going on. Once we did start to hear from the people in there, they started telling us all types of things. Then the prison said, well, we can't give them masks. They can't have masks. They can't cover their face whatsoever. And then you started seeing individuals die, right? They died from COVID. Right. Then you start talking about the actual employees in there, right? And the issue is the state law has protected officers, law enforcement officers, which correctional officers fall under because of Leah Board. This is something we've been talking about. Even with the investigative reporting going on with this right now, they're trying to get personnel files. They're trying to get misconduct records of those correction officers, especially of the one who's being accused, from all these people, both current and former inmates. They can't get anything because of Leah Board. Wow. So this is it takes us full circle, right? Yeah. We've been talking about Leah Board reform for almost 6-7 years now. It really got traction in 2020. And yet again, this is another incident that is happening in this state in which is protecting bad actors. Right? These officers are doing all types of things. They're pulling people by their dreads, pulling their hair out of their head, leaving bald spots. They're beating individuals. Oh, wow. There was actually one individual who had to appear in court but had just got beaten 2 days prior, and he showed the judge his face. The judge asked, and he said it was the officers who did this, not the other inmates, like the officers said happened. So, it's incidents like this is what we really want to be able to get in, do a deep dive, and get those individuals who are in the prison, who are committing these crimes, they should be on the other side of the bars.
Yes, that's right.
But it's election year, and we have got to be fighting, in my opinion, for continued police reform and for prison reform. But there's just no reason. And reflecting back right after the rise, the number of calls and complaints that were received about how not just mistreating, but malicious retaliation for the prison riot. And a lot of the inmates had nothing to do with the riot. They weren't participants, so they just took it out on everybody regardless. And then, of course, they still remain frustrated because with all that equipment and all that technology and all the witnesses, they couldn't get anybody convicted of the murder that took place in the prison. But for the inmates to have to suffer irreparable harm like this is just outrageous. And you've got people who are in because they can't make bail, and they're being, again, treated the same malicious way, and the retaliation, in my opinion, continues.
Yeah, let me just say this to those of you who are watching. I am a conservative Democrat, okay? I believe that the prison system is designed to reform. It is designed to. Kobe talked about it earlier on this show about corrective. I think restorative justice. If a person does wrong, they should pay for their debt. But human rights at no time should be violated. I struggled with why the family of Arbery in Georgia, is that his name?
Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah. I struggled with why were they so upset when there was a plea made to put them in a federal jail instead of a state. Then it hit me, because in these state prisons, although they probably be treated better, in these state prisons it is just inhumane. And if we're going to restore a person to a community, there has to be certain developmental things going on in those prisons. And what I'm hearing you all is, and when you just said what you said and you said what you said, I'm sitting here as a pastor now saying, how in the world are we, what are we doing? I don't even have the right words.
But you know, the allegations that have come to us in the community, the commissioners are aware of, the wardens are aware of. And how do you be in positions of authority like that and do nothing?
Yeah.
Do nothing to change that culture.
Yeah.
And all these allegations, and here basically nobody charged for anything. And
when we get mad?
based on what's being described, you've got people who are supposed to be running the prison who need to be in the prison.
Well, that's what Kobe just said. But when will we as a people get mad? You talked about voting. We to vote some people out because they look like us doesn't mean they're with us, because there are some people in high positions in the prison system who are not doing anything. Very few, but there are a few there. My question is, when will we get mad enough to say enough is enough? I used to get angry with Mouse. I used to get angry with him and say, why are you always talking about Delaware is the most racist state? Stop saying that. And then I begin to get articles and see and watch and hear things like this. All of this is affecting our community. If these type of conditions, if a white boy, little Johnny, would have said he had to walk naked through a open area to show some humiliation, it would have been an investigation. All cameras would have been seen, and it's unfair. We don't have the money to get out. Some don't have the money to get out, so therefore they are in prison while they're trying to get their bail. This is just inhumane. It's unacceptable. And at some point in our community, we're going to have to speak up and speak out. And I'm talking about speak out not just in words. We have to close some things down like the truckers are doing right now. At some point, you got to agitate the system. You have to agitate the system. That's how you get things done.
But the only reform, the only changes that have been brought about in the prison system over the last 10 years that I'm aware of have come about solely as a result of litigation.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that the ACLU and other lawyers have got to go seek relief and let the courts intervene in the operation of the prison system, as opposed to state officials doing it themselves.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to police themselves, number one. We see that all the time. And so therefore they're going to continue to say that it's not there. But I'm going to go back to it until they start closing 95 down, until they start messing with the economy of Delaware, for real, as black people. Until we start doing that, we're going to continue to be treated the way we're being treated. I am from the school. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Don't let the governor leave the building. Let him spend a few nights up there. Shut it. And you say go to jail. At some point, the right, as if they can say that insurrection was civil protest, then we certainly, I'm not telling anybody to do
Civil
anything.
discourse, they called it.
I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything that's going to cause us to break the law, but I am telling you there's some legal things we can do to agitate the system. And I think we're going to have to start doing it, and we're going to stop being afraid, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who are dying. We're the ones who are suffering. It's just like what happened across the country, where this black, I can't remember her name. I know you would be able to tell me her name, and I know of her. She's a nice woman. But the black congresswoman on the train, big sign, mask, wear your mask. She says to the gentleman, because she don't want to catch COVID, could you please put your mask on? He told her to kiss.
His behind.
His buttocks, okay.
That ain't what he said, but it's bigger than that. You've got the chairperson of the Congressional Black Caucus, and this little fella from one of them red states told her to kiss his, well, as she so eloquently said, okay, what would have happened if a black congressman had told a white woman to kiss his? What would have happened?
Think about it.
And, that congresswoman is Congresswoman Joyce Betty from Ohio, District 3, right? She's the Congressional Black Caucus chair, the 50th year of them being around. Here's the issue I find with it. He said what he said, but he also put his hands on her.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that piece.
She was stepping on, turned around, and said, per House rules, we have to wear masks here. Whatever your political belief is, okay, but there's staff around, right? Everyone rides these trains. I've been on those trains. And when she turned back around, he put his finger to her back and pushed her forward and said, just get on the train, kiss mine. So that is what you're dealing with. But here's the thing. The Democrats say he should be censored. Or he should have his committee stripped away. This is Hal Rogers of Kentucky. But here's the other thing I'm going to talk about, right? This isn't a one-off incident.
Right.
This has been going on with white members of Congress attacking black members. You look at this incident. You look at how Lauren Boebert from Colorado 3rd District and her vile attacks on Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. And talking about, she's getting on the elevator, she had a book bag and the cops was coming at. No, she didn't.
Right.
You're just saying that because she was Muslim and you hate her.
Right.
Right? You use that to fundraise, right? Then you look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, who went after Cori Bush from Missouri and attacked her simply because she was talking about why the mask mandate was so important for inside the office buildings and to respect all staff, everyone, from the custodians to chief of staffs, right? And they attacked her for that, making it politicized. I haven't got COVID, so I don't need a mask. No, that's not true. You can still be asymptomatic and get other people sick.
That's right.
And then you get to this incident. The chairwoman of the Black Caucus. You can't get any more disrespectful than that. And she said it. When asked, she said, he knew I was black. He knew I was a woman. And that's why he thought he could get away with it.
That's right.
Now, he did put out a tweet apologizing and said he sent a heartfelt apology to her. That's not enough. That's not enough.
What if he was a black man doing that to a white woman? That's sticking in my spirit, because at the end of the day, we're treated differently. We even treat each other differently. And that's a problem.
And this all goes, each caucus within the chamber has a leader, right?
Right, yeah.
For us, it's Nancy Pelosi. For them, it's Kevin McCarthy from California, right? Both of them are from California. Kevin McCarthy is the minority leader, and he's allowing this to happen because he thinks the House is going to flip in 2022, right? And last time in 2015, when John Boehner stepped down, the super conservative Freedom Caucus blocked him from becoming speaker. So now he's doing everything possible to feed into their ideology so that he can get the speakership gavel. That's what he's trying to do.
Wow.
And it's sad because he's allowing that to happen to minorities. So if he gets the speaker gavel, it's going to be even worse. And I guarantee you, the policy that he will be pushing will be detrimental to Black America as well, too.
And for everybody watching us on YouTube, because we have a nice viewership across the board, I hope that you will pay attention to that. And for those of you in those purple states, we need to keep this Democratic Congress and Senate, because at this point, it's going to be Trump country. I mean, he ain't got to sit in the White House to be able to raise some of the foolishness that's going to be.
It's already taken its impact.
Yeah.
And the number of people, the closet racists have come out of the closet. And I looked at the situation in Wisconsin yesterday. The little 12-year-old girl upset about the fact that the police came in with that no-knock warrant and shot and killed that man.
Yeah.
And she's at a swimming meet at the Y, and she had put together her little Black Lives Matter outfit in support of the young man who was shot by the police in Minneapolis. And the judges told her she couldn't swim. And they tried to stop her from swimming, and her mother called the NAACP. The NAACP showed up in 15 minutes with the press, and all of a sudden that rule that was plucked out of the air was reversed.
And we're back. Well, this has been a great discussion today, and I hope that the people who are watching us have gotten some meaningful and reliable information. But Kobe, no show is a real show. No time we come together is good until we get to that Kobe Corner, because you have so much to give us, and we appreciate you so much. Don't we appreciate him?
We certainly do.
Yes.
Yeah, so, the first thing on my mind is, as of Friday at 8 a.m., the indoor mask mandate has been lifted, right? Earlier in the week, Governor Carney revised his state of emergency order to lift that, and also do it for the school system as well, too. But the schools have until March 31st, and giving them time for parents to get their kids vaccinated if they need to get vaccinated, and really push that further. I don't think it's the right move right now. I think we should stay with the mask a little bit longer. It may not be a mandate anymore, but I do recommend you continue to wear your mask, continue to be safe, because we're still getting through this. Hopefully we get out of this before the summertime, but it's going to take us all holding each other accountable for this. But as of March 31st, there will be no more mask mandate anywhere in the state of Delaware.
Unless his rule shows a lot of increase and we see more hospitalizations.
Right. If we
and
see
death.
another spike again, it'll probably come back. And that's one of the things we're hoping doesn't happen, but be prepared for it.
Okay.
Next, I wanted to kind of follow up right now. I told you last week about the senator who had the stroke. So he's kind of down for the month of February. But, right now, the real discussion and focus has been around the Supreme Court. Who will Biden nominate? And while we may not have a nominee, you're hearing all types of things flare up. You have some Republicans who are saying, oh, well, Biden isn't picking the most qualified person because he handicapped his ability by saying he's going to just nominate a black woman to meet a status quo. Really? Y'all have no problem doing that
Some
when
of
it's
the greatest
just been
minds in this world.
all white men.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you have two Republicans who are actively pushing for a Democrat to be nominated to the Supreme Court, a black woman from South Carolina. It's Jim Clyburn's pick. It's Tim Scott's pick. It's Lindsey Graham's pick. Lindsey Graham is the ranking member on Judiciary. So, that's huge to have two Republicans
And she's
coming
qualified.
up. And she's extremely qualified.
That's what I was saying, extremely qualified. So I don't want to just say it because she's a black woman.
Right.
I want to keep that in our heads because they tend to think that we are less than because of the color of our skin. But in actuality, when it comes down to education and preparation, she is very much qualified.
And she brings a different dynamic. She didn't go to an Ivy League law school,
Yeah.
right? She would be the only one who did it on the current Supreme Court. Now, the other two big
She could bring
names,
common sense.
Right. The other two names being floated around, both are Ivy League, Harvard and Harvard and Columbia law. So, that's what's in the midst right now. But here's the thing. Their resumes can go up against anyone in the nation, whether they're conservative or liberal. They have the credentials to be on the Supreme Court. And that's what the Judiciary Committee is supposed to be looking at and looking into. And then also, that's what the Senate as a whole body should. Now, if Biden does pick the judge from South Carolina. That's good. She'll probably pass with maybe 3 Republicans voting for her. If he picks the other 2, it'd be a little more symbolic because it probably will be a 50-50 split. And then our first black woman vice president would get to be the deciding vote on that. Now, that is a tougher route to go, but
Because you never know what Bozo going to do.
what Manchin, may do. But in order to prepare everyone for this process, the president has put together a team of advisors to help navigate whoever his nominee is through this. So the first person he nominated was the nomination advisor for legislative affairs, and he tapped his friend, former U.S. attorney and former U.S. Senator Doug Jones from Alabama. Now, y'all may know Doug Jones's name because he prosecuted the KKK members who bombed the 4 black girls down in Alabama. He's an amazing person. I wish he was our U.S. Attorney General, but I think he's going to be able to work with whoever the nominee is and really get them through this process. Next is the advisor for engagement, Mayan Moore. She's a former DNC CEO. She's a part of the group called 4 Black Girls. They wrote a book with Donna Brazile. They came to Delaware. She is a powerhouse when it comes to public affairs, strategy in D.C. And especially working with African-American politicians. And then lastly, Ben LeBault is the advisor on communications. So that team is going to be working with Ron Klein, who's the White House chief of staff, and of course the president's rest of his staff as well, too, to get this done and get this nomination for
Whoever he decides to nominate.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know about you all, but I'm going with the South Carolina as well for a lot of reasons. But and black is one of them, but that ain't the main one. But I will say that I've read some of her cases.
Yes.
And I like her thought. Her train of thought is the clarity that she brings to the table is just. I didn't agree with every decision she made, but I'm just about the clarity, her focus for why she's doing what she's doing. I was very much for, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, I want to cut in.
Next, I want to talk about the vice president is going on the campaign trail to advocate for people to file their taxes, to make sure that you take advantage of the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit during this season. Both which have been huge assisting those in low income situations, but also you look at what President Biden was able to do under the American Rescue Plan by expanding the funding for child tax credit from $2,000 per child to $3,600 for children under 6 and $3,000 for children 6 to 17. And then additionally for the earned income tax credit, he was for workers without dependent children, that would increase from about $540 to about $1,500. So that is huge. That will help a lot of people, especially during this time. And look, we got bills to pay. And then lastly, I want to talk about what is going on here in Delaware. So right now, I said the General Assembly is on break, but the only committee that meets during the entire month of February is the Joint Finance Committee. And you're more than welcome to go to their page, DelawareGeneralAssembly.gov, to look at who is scheduled to speak over the next few days. They do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. But I want to talk about what happened on Tuesday. On Tuesday, you had the auditor's office present their budget to the Joint Finance Committee. And you had a heated exchange between the chair, the Senate co-chair, Trey Pardee from Dover, and the auditor's office over a few things. So one was over the legitimacy of an LLC consulting firm of a staffer who's on payroll for the actual office. And then the second part, which was also very interesting, Auditor McGinnis is under indictment by the DOJ. She requested $150,000 of additional fees to be moved from the general fund to her to handle outside legal counsel fees. So Senator Pardee kind of spoke up and said he thought it was outrageous that they didn't get a heads up of this request prior to the presentation, But also, he thought it was outrageous that she's asking for taxpayers to pay for her legal fees, where the DOJ can assign and represent that office, can assign someone to represent her to handle that. Now, if she wanted to go with outside legal counsel, then she should pay for that. That was his kind of gist of the argument there. She fired back saying that this has been done in the past, that the former Brendan O'Neill, the former chief public defender for the state, has had budget requests for outside legal counsel when it was conflicting lawyers going up against each other in a case. So that's where we're at right now. Again, the JFC is going to continue to hear these hearings. They go through every state office. They break. Then you hear the capital bond, which is our capital infrastructure part, which is allocated from the JFC, and then JFC will come back and do the last part, which is granting aid for nonprofits and community centers and stuff like that.
Wow. And go ahead.
But let me, Kobe, you got the state auditor who is still sitting in office, having been indicted for the impropriety in her office that the Attorney General feels rises to the criminal level, and she's still in office. And now we can pay for outside counsel, or the Department of Justice can represent her against the Department of Justice. Compare that to what Sokola did to Senator Brown.
See,
it's fundamentally unfair that she can sit there, so before Sokola goes forward with his, that's a complaint. Are they going to pay for his outside counsel? They're going to pay for Senator Brown's outside counsel?
Yeah.
Or are they going to assign somebody from the Department of Justice to walk him through that ethics situation? That whole circus that Sokola created solely for the purpose of dealing with the black senator, the black male senator, when it's never been dealt with anybody else for the past 35 years. I'm sorry, I just can't let that go.
No, and I feel your tension because I'm a part of it. And I said I was going to leave alone, but it's a matter of black and white. Okay?
Correct.
And I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be the person saying that as many times as I've said it. It's a matter. It's not about fundamental fairness, because fundamental fairness is in the eyes of it becomes subjective. But we know what is right and what is wrong. This is another example, clear cut, of racism.
And I'm going to be singing "We Shall Overcome" till the day I die.
Yeah, well,
that's how bad it is in this country, and quite frankly, how awful it is in this state.
Yeah, and one of our people who I'm really supporting right now is Stacey Abrams, rather. I say Adams, Abrams, and what they did to her. She explained in detail what she was going to do. She was there reading to the children, and the way they threw her through the media last week was just unbelievable.
That's because they're smart enough to know she getting ready to be governor of Georgia. They can fix elections all they want. She's getting ready to be governor.
But I want everybody to continue to see the level of racism, the level of black versus white, and it shouldn't be a versus. We are humans. We are part of humanity. I don't understand why we are continuously being treated so unfairly. You raised the issue. I'm with you 100%. That shouldn't even been on your list to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's egregious, but it is what it is, and it's sad. So I want to thank you, those of you who had an opportunity to watch us today, and I know that we really spent a lot of time in the local news, and that's fine because that's what really matters to you. But Kobe, is there anything else on your desk you want to share?
Yeah, so the last thing I want to say, this past week, our Congresswoman celebrated her birthday, so I just want to say happy birthday, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Happy birthday, Lisa Rochester. That's one of my favorite people. Happy birthday. I can't wait till COVID is over so that we can come and see you in person, because she usually stops by the church every now and then. Anything else from you, sir?
Well, I want to encourage Kobe, given his knowledge, to look at statewide office. because he doesn't need to be limited to what's going on locally. His ability and his impact can be greater than that. But I also wanted to take this time to publicly thank you for putting this show together, allowing us to come in, and the fact of the matter is you're paying for this show. And that's indicative of how important it is to you. And the only way somebody knows that you appreciate something is if you take the time to say, I appreciate it.
Well, stop telling me you ain't coming when I tell you to get here, because you only get dressed once a week. I want to say thank you so very much.
You don't have to go find your teeth and all that. You get ready to go on TV.
But I thank y'all so much for watching us. This is a great team, and we're going to continue to do more and be better and get better. But do not ever get it twisted. Racism is live and it's real. And whatever it costs in order for us to spread the message that we have to come together as African-American community, until that happens, we're going to continue to find ourselves losing each other. So I'm going to take this opportunity again to say thank you so very much for the time that we shared together. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Jay Street.
See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.